Good morning, everybody. Yes, so my name is Megan McAllister. I am the HR supervisor with Northeast Metro 916 Intermediate School District, and one of the biggest areas that we recruit and hire for are special education teachers, and as everybody knows, those are difficult and hard to come by. In addition to trying to increase, obviously, our staff of color in that area. So I'm going to walk you through our non-conventional teacher licensure program. We began this process in conversations back in 2012 with official program approval from, at the time, the Board of Teaching in 2014. So our first official cohort began during the 2014-2015 school year. As we looked at the design of the program, you can see up here some of the things that we were truly trying to target. So first, we wanted to provide a graduate level pathway to licensure in EBD for our current education assistants with a specific focus on serving students in level 3 and level 4 programs, as that was our target market. At the time, the unemployment rate was much higher than it is today, and we had a lot of individuals sitting in our programs or working as education assistants with undergraduate degrees in psychology, criminal justice, a variety of different areas, but then they were leaving, and so we wanted to figure out a way to capture those individuals before they left the program and put them on a path to teacher licensure. One of the other pieces that we wanted to focus on was really looking at behavior support intervention and rigorous academic instruction for these students. In a center-based program, special education teachers are required for providing all of the instructional areas, and what we were seeing as a large deficit was that academic instruction component and at the level that we wanted and as our students expect to get. We also obviously wanted to increase the number of teachers of color in our district. Our education assistant pool is the most diverse in our district, as I'm sure it is in many of yours. And so we really wanted to try and target and build from within because we weren't seeing those applicants coming through the door. Obviously, it needed to be cost effective. We wanted to reduce some of those barriers for individuals. Graduate work, any work is expensive at the college level. And so what were some creative solutions that we could come to try and minimize the cost barrier? And then the last piece, which is in conjunction with this cost-effective piece, is we really wanted to try and design a program that allowed our education assistants to get some of the credits or earn some of the credits that they had while on the job. They were doing a lot of the work already in the classrooms with our students, and so what was a way that we could honor that work that they were doing and give them credit on the way, which ultimately would then lead to reducing the total number of credits that they were actually having to pay for out of pocket. So this is, and I apologize, it's a little bit small, but the program design, our partner is the University of Minnesota. The program is designed with 4 semesters. They're during the academic school year. Summer months are off, and we had done that strategically because a lot of our education assistants are working full-time over the summer and need that income to then supplement and get them through the next school year. So you'll see with the 4 semesters, each of them targets a specific area. So semester 1 has the IEP process. This is a draft schedule, but semester 2, instructional planning and implementation, semester 3, behavior intervention, and semester 4, student teaching. And then you can see underneath that we have 2 8-week courses that students are taking, and then there's a 16-week clinical practicum. That is 3 credits that they are earning on the job. So instructors from the University of Minnesota come in, observe them doing that, and they're meeting specific standards that they need for licensure, but not having to pay credits to the University of Minnesota to do that. So we were, again, really able to reduce the number of total credits for the program. You can see at the bottom the total credits are 36, which is significantly lower than what a typical graduate program would be for individuals that do not have an undergrad in education. And at the end of the program, it leads to a master's in education and then a full K-12 license in emotional and behavioral disorders. Program requirements, so it's a 2-step selection process. We as a district wanted to make sure we were investing in the right people. And so we have a selection process that first happens at the district level with an application and interview process done with our HR department and then our executive director of programs who works through special education. Once that selection process is determined, we make the recommendation to the university in terms of who we would like to support. The selection process at the university, minimum requirement is a 2.0 GPA, which is lower than the typical requirement for a graduate program. Requires 2 letters of recommendation, and then we're really looking for that 1 successful year of work experience in an EBD classroom. We want that time to be able to assess and make sure that we are investing in the right people, and that year really gives us a great way to identify that. Plus, we know that they're committed to our programs. These aren't people that are coming in having never experienced a level 3 or level 4 setting, which, you know, can sometimes be very challenging. And so having that experience and that investment was critical to us. So the results, and I should have prefaced by saying this is although we originally approached the University of Minnesota, we are not a large district in size, and so we were unable to have enough participants to do the program on our own. And so it meant reaching out to a number of partner districts, including member districts, to make sure that we got that size up. So as of today, we've had 40 successful graduates of the program who are currently licensed in emotional and behavioral disorders. Last count, tracking from the University of Minnesota, all but 3 are currently teaching in districts. 18% self-identify as people of color. 916 specifically, we currently have 12 graduates of the program that have filled critical needs for a couple of school years here. All of our cohort members at the completion of their program went through the selection process and were offered teaching contracts. So right now we're at about an 86% retention rate. We've got 1 student graduating this coming spring, 8 more enrolled in their first year right now. Key learnings. Financial support and grant funding, obviously that financial piece is a barrier, and it isn't something, unfortunately, that's consistent. We're relying on grant funding right now from the Minnesota Department of Education. We've been fortunate to receive it, but obviously it's not something that we can guarantee. So we've really had to do a job of communicating with our education assistants to say, we're gonna do everything that we can to try and support you financially, but we need to have you going into this program thinking worst case scenario, and then hopefully we're all pleasantly surprised and we can provide you with that support. Recruitment strategies for education assistants, because that is our most diverse group of individuals, that's where we had to focus the time and effort, and where we continue to do that. We use this Grow Your Own program as a way to recruit education assistants into our district, and it's a critical need for us and a great selling point, so something that's been extremely helpful. The role of the education assistant in the classroom is also something that's important to think about. Through our program and these practicums, they're expected to take on additional responsibility in the classroom. And sometimes that can be a little bit tricky because obviously at times we can be short-staffed, and we may need to have them called out to a crisis. And if that's happening too often, they're not getting the opportunity and learning that they need in the classroom. So we've really and continue to do a lot of work in terms of how do we ensure that they're getting the right experiences, which leads us into the next piece, and that we're putting them with the right host teachers. That's a critical part. You want somebody who's modeling what we expect of teachers in our district, and so it's a limited pool, unfortunately, for us, and so we're tapping the same people over and over again. But our hope is as we continue to graduate these individuals, we build our capacity and can continue to have individuals that have gone through this program now acting as host or mentor teachers. So we're a few years out from that, but we're getting to that point. And then these are just a couple of quotes from individuals that have successfully completed the program regarding their experience. Yeah, any questions?
How did that affect your actual diversity of your teaching population?
Yeah. So I will be transparent in saying that 18% is reflective of the entire cohort, so not necessarily just Northeast Metro 916, but all participating districts. And so we have not seen great results in that. We have 1 successful teacher of color that has graduated from the program, so it's been a minimal and incremental increase. But right now, our current cohort that is going through is 25% from 916. So we're getting there, and I think it will continue to grow, just not the results we'd like to see at this point. Yeah. And specific, yes, specific to EBD. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Danaya Franke, and I'm with the St. Paul Public Schools. I am the Tutor Coordinator, so the St. Paul Public Schools Urban Teacher Residency Program. And you'll see with me today, I have a team of folks at the table that are part of this partnership that I'm really excited to share with you today. So if we start with where this program began and where we wanted to go, I have to say that it's our mission is the most important part of all of this. We started very clearly with creating a mission that was meant to create, implement an innovative program for recruiting, preparing, supporting, and retaining effective teachers that represent the St. Paul Public Schools population. We also said that this program is something that is going to be a model for schools and universities to make change, to interrupt systems around the ability to improve our cultural competence and eliminating racial disparities. So we started with, what are our goals? What do we want to do? And we've been very transparent in all of this. And right away we said we want to diversify highly effective teachers and increase the retention in St. Paul Public Schools so that we have optimal academic achievement for students being the center of all of this conversation. We wanted to break down barriers and interrupt systems. We talk about interrupting systems a lot in this program, and it's about the teaching profession. Specifically, we wanted to look at how do we interrupt systems around time, money, and access to teacher preparation programs. We wanted to inform and improve teacher preparation practices and partnerships. So we started with, how do we want to do this? And we said, okay, we're going to create this teacher residency program. And we were lucky enough to get a grant from the National Center of Teacher Residencies that allowed us to learn from them and to work with them to create a true residency program. We partnered with the University of St. Thomas, and we created the program. And we started in 2016. We got approval from the Board of Teaching for a non-conventional teacher license program, and we launched our first cohort in 2016. So I would be remiss without saying that when I say that we have a deep partnership and a commitment with St. Thomas, it is extremely a deep partnership. It is us together as a group deciding that we need to provide some sort of financial support, we need to have effective communication, and there has to be a true eagerness to actually recruit, prepare, support, and retain teachers in St. Paul Public Schools. So we are super excited to see and to share where we came from just 3 short years ago. So in 2016, we started with Cohort 1, and you'll see up here a picture of our residents, our mentors, our university supervisors, and our instructors. It took a team of us to get started. And so when we talk about what this looks like and what the overview of the program is, it truly is district serving. This program was created for St. Paul to create teachers for St. Paul. It's deeply rooted in our district practices and our district needs. We pay the residents. We make a financial commitment to paying them $21,000 throughout the entire year. We pay for their books, and we pay for their medical and their dental benefits. St. Thomas has a tuition that they charge, which is $660 a credit. It is 34 credits to complete this program, and they are master's level courses. St. Thomas also offers scholarships to all of our residents. Participants co-teach with a mentor teacher for 1 full academic school year. We also provide induction support for our residents after they've graduated. We've recently been able to acquire another grant, TQP grant, where we've hired 2 induction specialists that will follow our residents as they graduate and get into the field of teaching. So we've identified specific supports all the way through, from recruitment, during program, and then also in hopes of retention. Our induction includes quarterly induction seminars. We have our specialists. We have a new teacher hotline and a variety of other multi-tiered support systems based on the data that we collect while they're in our schools in the first year. The staffing structure is something that's really important because it is a deeply embedded partnership, and there is a lot of work and effort that goes into it. And at St. Thomas, there's a coordinator designed just to be working with the residency. There are instructors that have invested in the program, as well as supervisors who work with the residents for a whole year during the residency. In St. Paul, we have a full-time coordinator, myself. We have our 2 specialists, one in elementary and one in special education. And when I say special education for Suitor, it is the ABS, Licensed Academic Behavior Strategist. So what our schedule looks like is it is a 15-month program. So in the first summer, the very first 2 days, our residents start with Beyond Diversity training for 2 full days, and then they jump into some super intensive coursework in the first summer. During the school year, they co-teach with a mentor teacher Tuesday through Friday in the buildings, and then on Mondays, they take their classes at St. Thomas. So there are no evening or weekend classes. Everything's during the day. And then last summer, in June, they take some more classes on campus, and their classes are in the evenings. They're from 3 o'clock till 9:30. They're extremely intense, and we've decided to do that so that our folks that are in the program can teach summer school if they want to, because many of them need that to provide financial support for their families. And then after June, they finish their license and get their master's degree in July and August, and then we hire them in St. Paul. So this is some small print, I know, but I'm really excited to share this outcome data when I think about just 3 years in program. And briefly, you can see that we went from 22 cohorts to 22 residents to 31 residents to 29 residents. And we're in elementary and ABS. And you'll see that we have a pretty good percentage, 30 to 55% are graduates of St. Paul Public Schools, so we're really growing them from within. And 60% of them to 66% are candidates of color. So we're really excited about that number. We're not there yet. We're still trying to look like the students of St. Paul, which is 80% students of color. But we're making some progress. And you'll see the male-female dynamics is interesting. And we're also trying to look at that as a way of changing the education field. Bilingual experience in teachers is important for our kids. And then you'll see that we've been able to hire the majority of our program graduates because it's a program that's set in St. Paul for St. Paul. And I got to put a little plug in if you know anybody for Cohort 4. We're recruiting right now. Applications are due February 8th. So for me, this is like a proud moment in terms of what we've been able to do in 3 years. And it feels like it because it's not easy work. It's been a lot of work, but it's been very rewarding work because we have been able to recruit, train, and hire 72 teachers for St. Paul Public Schools, and 60% of them are teachers of color. So we feel proud of the work. And we like to celebrate it whenever we can because it is hard. And so we like to look at these faces and go, how great, they're now teaching the kids at St. Paul Public Schools. And so they can be a part of this work that we've all embarked upon. And so some of the things that we've learned while we're doing this work is that it is extremely important to be intentional about your recruiting. And it's the high-touch recruitment. So we found that about 60% of our folks come to us because someone looked at them and said, you would make a good teacher. So we have to remember that as a whole, as a group, that it's our work that we do that encourages folks to become teachers at all different ages. We have to keep a rigorous interview and selection process. Like we heard 916, it's important who we invest in, so we take it very serious. It's extremely rigorous to get into our program. We have to remove barriers when we're designing these kinds of programs, and time again, you'll hear people tell you the barriers are time and money. We hear all the time from our residents that the cohort model is the most important thing for them, the support, the affinity that they get with a group that goes through this program together. So we really, really appreciate the cohort model, and we'll keep with that. Like we heard also, the mentor teachers are the most important teacher educator in this work. They spend 1,200 hours with this emerging teacher throughout the program. So we spend intentional time training our mentors. Our mentors are actually pulled out of the classroom once a month to do a full day of training on how to mentor, how to give evidence-based feedback, how to have difficult conversations if you need to. And the residents are the ones that get to stay in the classroom and try teaching on for a size because they have their substitute license while they're in the classroom. Mentors are extremely important in this work. We have always and will continue to keep racial equity, diversity, and inclusion at the center of our work, in our coursework, in our classwork at St. Paul Public Schools, with our mentors, with our residents, with our instructors, with our supervisors. We have a deep commitment to St. Thomas. We think it's important to have really clear timelines. When does program start? When's program end? So you can see that end in sight for folks. And we have put in a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication to everybody that's involved. It's an investment financially, emotionally, but mostly it's worth it for the kids. So one of the things that we've been really intentional about is whenever we talk about the program, we believe in showing the data and talking about what we've done, but we want to hear the perspective of our residents, the people who have gone through the program. So I'm going to take the next couple minutes and invite one of our graduates who is currently teaching for her first year up. Her name is Laura Medina Costa, and she's going to share her perspective of our Tutor Residency program.
Hello. My name is Laura Medina Coste, and I'm a first-year special education teacher at Wellstone Elementary in St. Paul Public Schools. And a little background, I started out as a clerk at Wellstone Elementary 5 years ago, and now I'm a teacher, thanks to Tutor. And as a mother who needs to help her family live and eat, I needed an economically feasible and efficient way to realize my dream of becoming a teacher, and Tutor checked that box. As a person of color and an immigrant, I want to be respected and I want to feel heard and believed. As a student and a new teacher, I want to feel supported through my successes and my setbacks. I want to be mentored and nurtured. SPPS and University of St. Thomas through Tutor gave me and continues to give me these things. I feel respected, I have a voice that is heard and supported, I have mentorship, and I have so many resources through the different people both in the district and in the university, still to this day. Since I have a couple more seconds, even through the residency, one of the most incredible things that we got was that we got to meet with so many different people, and one of the people that I got to meet twice with a one-on-one meeting was the director of HR, who would ask me what my experiences were like, what was I experiencing within the school, the different schools that we got to experience 3 different schools during the year. And that was amazing because I could speak candidly and honestly, professionally, but honestly with him. And I knew that what I was saying was being heard and taken into account. My feedback was being received. Anyway, I feel like even at my lowest, and as a first-year teacher, there are plenty of lows. I have many people who have my back and want me to succeed, both teachers and peers from the program who have given me the tools to grow into eventually being a really effective teacher. Tutor has also given me the language and courage to stand up for myself and my students when I see inequities that need to be addressed, and also the knowledge that I'm not alone in addressing these inequities. I am grateful for the day that a friend forwarded the information about Tutor to me and told me that she thought I would be a good teacher. And I'm proud to be a part of this program in this district. Thank you.
We're proud of her too. Thank you. So if we talk about timeline and what we have coming up next, we are cohort 4, starting to recruit right now. Applications closed, and you can just see that it's quick and it's tight, and folks know what they're getting into when they sign up. We hear 100% of the time from our mentor teachers that they too have increased their ability to be a better teacher because of being a part of this program. Our mentor teachers are selected through a process starting with our building principals, recommending folks that think that they could be really good for this work. And then we do come in and we do interview interest inventory, and we take toll of who we think could be a good mentor for this program. We have had probably 80 to 100% of our mentors want to return to the work, even though it's hard work for them. They have really loved how it's developed them as a teacher. So yes, we have a list of criteria in terms of having, you have to be tenured, you have to have gone through Beyond Diversity training, you have to believe in the equity work that we are bringing to the district, you need to be able to attend all the PD sessions we have, you do observations monthly, and then we meet with the principals to make sure that they're getting the support that they need to be a positive mentor in the district. So I'd be happy to talk more if anybody has questions about it anytime.
Thank you. Next, we have Hopkins Public Schools. Dr. Stanley Brown is going to share a little bit about the program they have.
Thank you. I'll be very, very short, brief, actually. It is extremely hard to find staff that reflect the students. So one of the things that we contemplated was I am an adjunct at Metro State, and a lot of the students at this university are people of color. And one of the things that a lot of the students have told me is that they did not, many of them did not realize that in order to student teach, they would have to quit their jobs and for 12 weeks. And many of them whom could have become very good instructors left the program. So that's a challenge. So ASIO actually partnered with Metro State, and we did also, and Dr. John Schultz was with Hopkins at the time, and signed off on a partnership. Is he here, Schultz? John Schultz? Okay, tell him he owes me a lunch because I mentioned his name. And he was very, very excited to partner. So we have partnered with Metro State, and we hire 3 student interns with a small stipend for 22 weeks. Their university program is only 12 weeks, but we will pay them for 22 weeks. And the extra 10 weeks gives them an opportunity to observe not only in the classroom where they student taught, but in other areas also. So last year was our first year to partner. We had 3 excellent interns. Unfortunately, we did the internship in the fall. So the program ended at the end of the year, and we were not sure which openings would be available. So they received jobs elsewhere, except one. So this year, we decided to do the program in the spring because we will know by May which openings can be filled. And so we have 3 interns this year. But it is extremely hard. Even going to the Black Educators Conference, which I thought we could recruit Black educators. But the moment I would say, are you interested in coming to Hopkins? Well, where's Hopkins? Minnesota. It's too white and too cold. And so what other options do we have? And so this internship program is really helping us a great deal. Fortunately, we hired 14 staff of color this year. My goal is to hire staff of color to reflect our classroom, and the diversity is when we will have to hire white teachers. And so that's my goal. So it is extremely hard. One of the key learnings is that where do we need to go to recruit teachers that reflect the students? And one of the HBCUs is having a college fair in April. And we are going to try that to see if we can recruit there. And so it is an extremely hard feat, but it's worth it. And we have to do it for the sake of our kids. Any other questions? The overall hiring compared to the interns are very low. But we are hoping the 3 that we hired started last week, we're hoping to keep those 3. One is in 4th grade. One is a counselor at one of the junior high, and another one is at Adler, and he will graduate in May, and we're expecting to keep him also. Actually, he is a behavior specialist, and so I think we can keep him, actually.
Good morning, Roseville Schools. We show up. This is our parade to start the presentation. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jenny Lake, Director of Secondary Education in Roseville Schools, and we would be remiss not to bring our dynamic group of students and staff to talk about what we're doing in Roseville. I think we should lighten the air by giving our brave students a round of applause to begin the presentation. And today we'll be talking about our Teacher Fellows program that is working on being 10 years old, followed by our strong AVID program partnership, as well as our formal education pathway. I'll turn it over to our teachers.
Hi, I'm Greg Gulen. I'm a social studies teacher at Roseville Area High School. I also was the former AVID coordinator and an AVID elective teacher at our school. Along with Dr. Loeck, we started this program in about 2012, one thing that I'm most proud of in my career. And it's with students like this in mind that we started this program. Obviously, we wanted to address the lack of teachers of color in our schools. But in doing so, we wanted to use our greatest asset, our students. And we all have amazing students in our school, and recruit them into the field of teaching, because we don't always do the best job of promoting our own profession to our students. So we wanted to address that, and we all have that in our schools. Also, just giving kind of the hidden curriculum around college and the barriers that are there for students, so we wanted to address that. We currently have 3 young men from our first group that are teaching in schools, in various schools in the metro area, and many more that are in college currently going to be teachers. So this has been a program that's really worked well. And I'm so glad Ann Barnes has kind of taken this to the next level, and she's going to talk about that.
So when we started this initiative in Roseville, it was a club. It was a Future Teacher Fellows program. Students applied. We brought instructors in from colleges to talk about their education programs, and we had students observe in classrooms, kind of like a TA position. We were finding that wasn't working for us. The consistency wasn't there, the fidelity wasn't there, and we were getting these great partnerships with schools like Augsburg, and we weren't fully utilizing them. So I went to Augsburg and I said, what can we do as far as college credit, adding some more merit to this program, adding some consistency and fidelity to the program, and some opportunities for students to start their college path. They said, we don't do concurrent credit, but we partner with Minneapolis Community and Technical College, who does. And we will honor any of their articulation agreements for these courses and continue to partner with you because we believe in you. So we brought MCTC in and started doing a course called Introduction to Urban Education, which is a 3 college credit course. I run it as a trimester course. The students get 3 days a week the content of the course, and 2 days of the week they go and they have done observation hours out in classrooms throughout our district. So they're in our elementary schools, they're in our middle school, and the majority of them, because of transportation, are at our high school. But they're becoming role models, serving our classrooms. It's really become such a great opportunity for us to get high schoolers out into our school community, as well as they build that 30 hours of observation into the class. And Augsburg has continued to be a good partner with us in that they welcome us to their campus once per term, and we sit in on their education classes so students can experience what it feels like to take these courses at the college level. And it's wonderful because I sit on their advisory board, and one of my former students is actually there with me now taking courses at Augsburg, so we can kind of keep track of them and help them through the college process, hopefully trying to bring them back to our district at the end. With the Grow Your Own grant through the Minnesota Department of Education, we have been able to expand our offerings. So this year, actually starting last year when we first received the grant, we started a tutor training course where students leave with the AVID Tutor Training certification at the end of it and become content study tutors in our classrooms at the high school. So they leave with that 16-hour certification that they can also use to help them pay for college, because we know that is another hurdle for students getting through their education pathway. So they leave with an AVID tutor certification. We also have peer mentoring at our school that they can try out different areas of special education and help
work in those classrooms and try out different areas, and you'll hear some of our students talk about that as well. And then under the grant this year, we are expanding. We're going to offer technology for educators third trimester for students that have taken Introduction to Urban Education. And next year, we are adding multicultural education as another course option. So by the time they leave high school, they could have taken 3 out of the 5 courses that they need for a 2-year degree at Minneapolis Community and Technical College. So, but I feel like, and so one of the ways that we've recruited is many of these students are avid students as well, because our avid students need, in junior and senior year, we require them to take a college credit bearing course. And this has been a culturally relative way for them to do that. So I would love to have them tell you a little bit about their experiences. So what we're first of all going to ask them to do is introduce themselves and say what courses they have taken and what learning experience has stood out for them.
So I'm Kaylee. I have taken peer mentoring, technology for the tutors, and also Intro to Urban Ed, and I am also an avid student.
I'm Jorge. I'm an avid student. I've taken peer mentoring and Intro to Urban Ed.
I am Cameron Reese. I've taken Intro to Urban Ed, peer mentoring, and I will take technology for educators third try.
I'm Amar, and I've taken Intro to Urban Education. I thought it was really interesting how we were taught the value of teachers and their impact on students, and it is really important in how the way teachers reach out to their students.
For me, Intro to Urban Ed, it really expanded my thoughts about teaching. I wanted to pursue a health/science career, but now teaching is also on that chart, so it helps. Yeah. Something that stood out to me was when we talked about how students learn, and rather they learn better in groups by themselves or something like that. And for me, I found out that I like to learn in groups, and I like to have study groups and learn like that, but I realized that different people learn different ways, and I found my way.
So my favorite part about Intro to Urban Ed were the writing blogs. Personally, I love writing. I think it's a cool way to express your inner thoughts and opinions, and using that in a educational lens was really cool, and it was a really cool way to gain a new perspective. So that's what stood out to me.
For me, peer mentoring was a really big thing for me. It was able to witness how special needs students work in different environments and how I can help them in different ways. Also, Intro to Urban Ed was a really big thing for me. I got to experience elementary students and how we can find ways to work with them and have the way they like to work, and how we can build different ways to get through that. And also technology for tutors. Going through that, I've witnessed how to help people get organized and find different ways to help them build up in their college, and how to help them get further into college and how to get more organized for that.
Do you want to give us your thoughts about the importance of having a teacher of color?
I feel like for me, having a teacher of color, I'm Native American, and I don't see a lot of Native American teachers. I don't get to learn about my culture, and that I don't like that very much. Seeing mostly white and how they witness and how they see different cultures isn't how I want to see that. I want to be able to feel comfortable and learn in a comfortable way for me, having Native American and Black and Hispanic and Latino and stuff like that. I want to learn in also their perspectives as well.
Having a teacher of color is definitely something that stood out to me throughout my education career, and I think it's just easier to connect with them on an emotional level.
So growing up, I was taught race, don't look at the color, look at who they are as a person. But it hurts to not see that many African American students or teachers in higher level classes. In all my AP classes, I have white teachers, and majority of the class is white. And I'd like to see more African American, Latino, Native, all that in there, because we all could help each other out, and it's not about race, it's about education.
I think in this diversifying world, it's important to have more diversity because it broadens our perspective, and it helps us see things from different angles, and it just helps to see people who look just like you.
My name is Lisa Chang, and I am the Human Resource Supervisor for Roseville. Give them a round of applause again, guys. Take a lot of courage to come up here to talk about their experiences. So I was asked to talk about a little bit about data, retention, recruiting, staffing, but I think they kind of told us what was important, right? To have teachers of color in classrooms. I do have to say, and I am aligned with Minneapolis. Our numbers in terms of data retention and recruiting is incremental, but we're taking steps and strides to get there. I don't have the numbers up here, but I can read it to you. From just like 5 years back, teachers of color from 2014 to 2019. In 2014, we were at 8.7%, and of course, incrementally, today we are at 10.39%. Making little steps, but getting there. In terms of administrators of color, from 2014 to 2019, we're at 25%, and now we're at 33%. In terms of all-inclusive staff, faculty and teachers at Roseville, we went from 11.9% to now 15%. So we have a trajectory. We're getting there, little steps, but making huge differences for our students. In regards to recruitment efforts, we're doing the basics right now. It's really word of mouth. Word of mouth. We want teachers of color just like all the school districts. Recruiting fairs. We're collaborating with colleges and universities and other school districts. We're partnering with third parties and then having great relationships with our union. And also one other thing that we also have is the affinity group. Our affinity group started in 2007. 2007 seems like it's 2007. Didn't seem that long ago, but if you do the math, it's over a decade ago, right? Just understanding that in 2007, our teachers of color wanted an affinity group because they wanted to process their experience and wanted to support each other. They are now advocates for other teachers of color and asking our leadership what we can do to help them and evolve as a group in terms of strategy. What's important to them is they want to see, of course, other teachers out there as well. They wanted recently a teacher of color in the affinity group wanted PD, their PD, to align with what's important to them and just not collectively as for white teachers, they wanted their own. So that was important for them. So just hearing them out, having a platform from them. That's all I have to say.
The end. Just kidding. I'm Chris Esser. I'm the Roseville Area High School principal. I'm part of that 33%. And moving forward, when you think about the voices that you heard, this is how we move forward. We listen to them, we respond to them, and we say, how can we do this? And part of that is my building budget. I have to decide, do I commit to having that FTE in those classrooms? And I am. We may have a Grow Your Own grant. Now the next question is, when the Grow Your Own grant goes away, how we will continue to fund this, because our future is their future. And they have expressed it. And when we talk about hearing the narrative, we do what we call absent narrative. We are doing PD with our staff. What voice is missing in the classroom? Who is not being heard? And now we have a place for them to say, yes, we hear it, but we need to hear more. And for me, as their building principal, this is the vision of the future. What I do is I say, how many kids are in these classes and how do we get more that want to be educators? Because it starts early. The fact that they go down to the elementary schools, the elementary school children now see older kids who want to be in education, which now they see us in education and they go off to be in education. So it starts, you got to be a baby, and it just grows up, and that's our goal here.
I just have a closing remark. I'm an abstract random, in case you hadn't noticed. But I really challenge us. It's good to say that we have teachers of color in our districts, but I challenge us to be mindful of, are those teachers of color in the buildings that we have, are they supported? Are they being upheld by other colleagues? Because we may have teachers of color, but they are miserable and they're living through hell. And if we are going to invite teachers of color into our schools, we better be able to have an apparatus that they are supported and how they are. Because if we don't, then we will not retain them. It's one thing to recruit them. It's another thing to retain them. And the other thought I want to leave us with, just because you are of my skin, you may not be of my kin. So because we have a lot of teachers of color that are working out of whiteness and may not even know themselves in order to uplift the students of color in their classrooms. So in your hiring process, you need to be mindful. It's a candidate of color, but does this candidate know and will be able to uplift, support, and encourage students of color in his or her care? Because that just because he or she is African American, Somali, whatever, they may be operating purely out of whiteness and can be harmful to children that they are in charge with. So keep that in mind, because we are Minnesota nice. I'm from Harlem, New York. So I call it as I see it. And I've seen some of this going on. And then when I speak to the principal, oh, he or she is so proud to have this person. And this person is damaging children that look like him or her.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Stanley Brown, for sharing that, and thank you for keeping us focused again on this work. As we present this information, again, it's not that we have landed where we want to be. It's an opportunity for us to reflect on what our practices are and making sure that as these presentations hit home to you, that you're taking that back to your district and going deeper with the understanding of where you might be in your work in the systems.